Alrighty, welcome to Off the Dome Book Reviews. Last video I was kind of more tackling fiction books. Today I want to attack more nonfiction, so let's just get it started. First book is The Tao Te Ching. I read this at the beginning of the year. I kind of sparsed out its proverbs, I'll say, throughout the month. So I kind of started in January and ended in March. Good book. I really like it. I think it's a timeless classic. It's been around for a long time. Um, the idea of living in the Tao is really cool. So it's something that is basically like letting go of your worries a little bit. Sorta, not really actually, but yeah, yeah. Read this book. This is a solid book. I really like it. So let's move on to the next one. This is a really good one. This is one that I really enjoyed. Was the Nicomachean Ethics by Aristotle. And what this book is about is arguing that right and wrong, good and evil, bad and good, virtues and vices are all a human developed thing. It is based on our interpersonal relationships that we develop with each other and ourselves. And that's what, that's where we come up with these terms such as good and bad, which is kind of the opposite of typical religious beliefs where it's like there is an absolute moral good, which is getting closer to God, and then evil is then sin and such, whatnot. Personally, I prefer the Nicomachean Ethics. It feels more real to me, and and to me, I think that a lot of what we know is based off of the fact that we are social creatures and we have language that has developed into the concept that has developed concepts of things such as good and bad over countless years and ended up where we are today. So I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4 stars, just because it's also like a little bit of a difficult read, but if you're looking for some ethical understanding, this is a really good one to go with. Aristotle's the man for ethics. So let's move on to The Goat, Discourses and Selected Writings by Epictetus. So I'm going to go on a little, I'm going to introduce another one that I actually just, let me put this on hold for a bit. I'm going to go to Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Now, if you're an avid viewer, that's probably like one or two of you. If you go back last year, you'll see that I said I finished it. I told a little fib, all right, sue me. But the Meditations, I gave it 3 stars. I just finished it like yesterday, actually, yesterday or the day before. And the reason why I gave it 3 stars is when I put it down last time, it was because I felt like it was repetitive. I didn't really need to go to book 12 to feel like I've gotten all the knowledge from it. It's a man's journal from over 2000 years ago. I want to say over 2000 years ago, maybe 2000 years ago. But anyways, it's a man's journal from a long time ago. Now, Marcus Aurelius is the GOAT, right? He was a Roman emperor who just wanted to be a better person, and in that time period, he was the most powerful man in the world. He had everything, but he wouldn't let that power corrupt him, or at least he attempted to not let that power corrupt him. And you could see that in his journals. He talked about the whole, understanding that you are only a part of this whole. He talked about understanding where people are coming from. He was a very empathetic person, and he wanted to be, I think, objective, where he would detach himself from the subjective situation to look at whatever he's in outside of the box and try and analyze where the person he's talking to is coming from, their intentions, and their beliefs and understanding that person. So this is where I'm saying he's very empathetic. And then he would hold himself to a moral code, looking up to people such as Epictetus, Aristotle, Plato / Socrates, especially Socrates. But that's where I want to come back to. So I want to say I gave it 3 stars because yes, there's wisdom in it, but it is very repetitive. And because this is a man's journal, right? He's not thinking that somebody's going to look at this and give it a 3-star ranking. You know, he's trying to keep himself accountable, and I think that's really impressive for a man of his power, though it is not a leisure read. I think it's more of something like if you need some guidance, you can open up the Meditations and see what Marcus Aurelius would think. And there's it's got a lot of material in it. You'll find something. And one of my favorite parts was when he was talking about anger, and he was saying how anger is just as much of a weakness as pain. And I think that's just real as fuck. So, I mean, he was just spitting. He was spitting facts. So, it's a 3-star. Doesn't make it a bad book. Just in my criteria, it's a 3-star. Now, rolling back to Discourses and Selected Writings, I would not read Meditations to learn about Stoicism. I would read Epictetus's Discourses and Selected Writings. This is similar to how Socrates didn't write his own works. Epictetus did not write his own works. His students transcribed his own lessons for him, for themselves. You know, note taking, whatnot. You know, this is all stuff that's been put together over time. Anyways, this is more the direct Stoicism, how to walk life, how to live in absolute good, and how to use your time wisely. And it's just it's a good book, right? This is where you want to go and actually it's in a very like educational format because that's what it was. But if you want to learn about Stoicism, this is, I think, the book to go for. It's so good, you know. It's just having this overall like discipline and understanding of desire and your actions is just it's what Stoicism is about. So that's why I give it the 5 stars, because this is also one of those books that like other people look at from other walks of life and it's like, yeah, that's goated. So it's worth looking at. Plato's Republic. I kind of touched on this last video, but I'll go more into it. The Symposium, the Republic, I really like how Plato writes Socrates, or how Socrates was. You know, I'm not sure if I think he was an actual person. He didn't have any of his own writings, but the Socratic method, asking questions, asking why, you know, getting down to the complex, like breaking down complex kind of questions or complex answers and breaking them down into simpler, more digestible means. It's really good. Now, does Plato's Republic is supposed to be the ideal society run by philosophers, broken up into like different classes and all such? I think his method is a little flawed. Philosophers, if you know anything about them, they can vary in their idealism, and it's just not. It's not the answer, in my opinion, to have the philosopher as the ruling class. But he does bring up that education is vital to any society. And I agree with that. And it's just, I loved how he built this. And specifically, there's this first part about the nature of justice, and he's debating with this guy. His name is losing me. It's a Greek man. He's debating with Greek man here, and they're debating like justice and the role of a ruler and who a ruler should serve. And Socrates' answer is the ruler should serve the people, and the other guy's like, nah, the rulers, like the strongest, survival of the fittest, like the strongest should be on top and dominating everybody else. And I just loved how Socrates was able to use this guy's own logic against him by using the Socratic method, A plus B equals C. And it's just, it astounds me how well of a speaker he was. He didn't claim to know anything, but it's like in that sly way where he definitely knows, and he's just kind of being a dick about it in a very subtle way. And I love it. I love it. So let's move on to the 3 books that I just read. Well, I guess we already talked about meditation, so we got only 2 more books. I'm going to talk about the one that I just read today, and then we'll talk about the one I read earlier this week. Today was Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Such a good book. Solid. I mean, just like so a lot of dystopian novels. I've read a lot of dystopian novels, and Fahrenheit 451, it captured this essence that I think makes the dystopian even scarier. And without spoiling too much about it, and I think most people knows, but the main idea is the main character is a fireman, but instead of putting out fires, they're burning books. They're burning knowledge. And there's this point where the captain, Captain Bailey, is saying that like they're not doing this just like as a like governmental like suppressionism and the people are scared and shitless and whatnot. No, it's a common goal and exchange by the people and the government. The people were not interested in books for a long time before they started burning them. And then because people would rather be entertained with fruitless like pointless, like just like surface level entertainment. There we go. They would rather have fruitless surface level entertainment where that is more real to them than a genuine conversation with each other. And it gets to such a point where like even taking a stroll outside is seen as odd behavior. And like it's just so well done, and it is like it's the people allowed this to happen to them. They're not oppressed in the sense where they are, fighting the man, and they secretly can't say what they want. They don't even express interest into it. And that's what's really dystopian to me, is the idea that the people support their own oppressive government. And of course, the oppressive government takes advantage of the support and takes away the means of people educating themselves with different ideas and different walks of life, because the government claims that they know better. Specifically Bailey really goes into that. It's like they don't need to know 2 different ideas. Hell, they don't even need to know 1. And these people are very zombie-like, and like they just are more honestly animalistic. And well, not even animalistic. They're just not anything. That's what it is. They just aren't anything. Anyways, that is obviously a 5-star. I already said it last video. Short books, good messaging, and like very captivating. That's going to get a 5-star, obviously. Speaking of 5 stars, The Stranger by Albert Camus. I had to like really ponder on this book when I finished it, because it was just so, it captured this like absurdism, this what it's about, and it captured the feeling of just emptiness in a day without any reason to feeling empty. It's just like the main character is just kind of swaying like from act to act with really no thoughts behind it other than it's just better than what he has to do right now. And even like, so he helps this character who is an outright just evil person, beats his wife, like, or not even his wife, just beats a woman, and morally just despicable. And he helps him out because it's, to the main character, is the same as not helping him out. And then it's just like, from that decision, I could already like tell, like when that decision was made, I was like, this is going to bite him back in the ass later, and it did. He's put on trial for decisions that were made later on, but he's put on trial, and what's most interesting is it wasn't the actual crime that was really deconstructed. It was how this man conducts himself, how he walks about life. His mere philosophy is so alien to everybody else. His indifference makes him different from everyone else. And that was what really got him his sentencing more than anything else. It was the mere fact that he is different, and being different is scary for a lot of people. And just the subtle imagery of like the imagery in the beginning, where every act is just mundane, from like, opening is the death of his mother, to taking a swim, to wanting to lie with a woman, or to being in jail. It's just, everything is just kind of so matter of fact, and you're looking at this guy and you're just like, man, what's the point? And he's thinking the same thing. He's like, yeah, what is the point? And it's so good. I like how he doesn't care because there's nothing to care about if everything is pointless. And a lot of people, I think, that can bother them is like, there has to be a point to everything. But for this guy, it doesn't bother him that there's no point. He just accepts it as it is. That's his starting point. He's like, yeah, the world doesn't care. Like, whatever I do, it won't matter tomorrow or in 5 years from now. And I can relate to that, because personally I feel like I've thought that way a time or two, and just being like, we're just really on a rock, floating in space, like we don't know what's going on. And and this doesn't really bother the main character, but he takes this philosophy and he applies it completely. And I think it's more of a, in my, like, personally, when I was thinking about it, I took it as more of, as like a Greek tragedy slash, like, what's the word called? I guess like a folk's tale. Like, it's just, you're watching somebody like not have a good time, essentially. And it's just the word slip in my mind, but it don't matter. It don't matter. It don't matter on theme of this book. So anyways, Albert Camus, I want to read The Myth of Sisyphus next and see what other works he's got, because he also he won the Nobel Prize in Literature, which is basically the Grammy for writing. So that's pretty cool. Anyways, that's about it. I'll see ya.